Welcome to the wonderful book reading of Goals by Brian Tracy. And yesterday was day one where we talked about why most people do not make their goals. We talked that they do not make their goals, either they don't know how to, or they're confused with the goals such as I want to be happy, joyful, and rich, and all of that. They also talked about why people don't form their goals is because of risk of failure and to be judged, to be told that you are unsuccessful. So now we are here learning to form our goals by joining the top 3%. So let's begin. Mark McCormack, in his book What They Don't Teach You in the Harvard Business School, tells of a Harvard study conducted between 1979 and 1989. In 1979, the graduates of the MBA program at Harvard were asked, have you set clear written goals for your future and made plans to accomplish them? It turned out that only 3% of the graduates had written goals and plans. 13% had goals, but they were not in writing. Fully 84% had no specific goals at all, aside from getting out of school and enjoying the summer. 10 years later, in 1989, they interviewed the members of that class again. They found 13% who had goals but which were not in writing were earning on average twice as much as the 84% of students who had no goals at all. But more surprisingly, they found that the 3% of graduates who had clear written goals when they left Harvard were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% of graduates altogether. The only difference between the groups was the clarity of the goals they had had for themselves when they started out. No road signs. The importance of clarity is easy to understand. Imagine arriving on the outskirts of a large city and being told to drive to a particular home or office in that city. But here's the catch. There are no road signs and you have no map of the city. In fact, all you're given is a very general description of the home or office that is your goal. Here is a question. How long do you think it would take you to find a home or office in a city without a road map or without road signs? The answer is probably a whole life. If you ever did find the home or office, it would be very much of a matter of luck, and sadly enough, this is the way most people live their lives. The average person starts life traveling for an unmapped, uncharted world with no roadmap. This is equivalent of starting off in life with no goals and plans. He or she simply figures things out as she or he go along. Often 10 or 20 years of work will go past, and the individual is still broke, unhappy in his or her job, dissatisfied with his or her marriage, and making little progress. And still, he or she goes home every single night and watches television, wishing and hoping that things would get better. But they seldom do, not by themselves. Happiness requires goals. Earl Nightingale once wrote, happiness is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal or goal. You only feel truly happy when you are making progress step by step towards something that is important to you. Viktor Frankl, the founder of logotherapy, wrote that the greatest need of the human being is for a sense of meaning and purpose in life. Goals give you a sense of meaning and purpose. Goals give you a sense of direction. As you move forward towards towards your goals, you feel happier and stronger. You feel more energized and effective. You feel more confident and competent in yourself and your abilities. Every step you take towards your goal increases your belief that you can set and achieve even bigger goals in the future. More people today fear change and worry about the future than at any other time in our history. One of the greatest benefits of goal setting is that goals enable you to control the direction of change in your life. Goals enable you to assure that the changes in your life are largely self-determined and self-directed. Goals enable you to instill meaning and purpose into everything you do. One of the most important teachings of Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, was that man is a teleological organism. The word teleos in Greek means goals. What Aristotle concluded was that all human action is purposeful in some way. You're only happy when you're doing something that is moving you towards something that you want. The great questions then become, what are your goals? What purposes are you aiming at? Where do you want to end up at the end of the day? Clarity is everything. Your inborn potential is extraordinary. You have within you right now the ability to achieve almost any goal that you can set for yourself. Your greatest responsibility to yourself is to invest that whatever time is required to become absolutely clear about exactly what it is you want and how you can best achieve it. The greater clarity you have regarding your true goals, the more of your potential you will unleash for good in your life. You've probably heard it said that the average person uses only 10% of his or her potential. The sad fact is that, according to Stanford University, the average person functions with only about 2% of his or her mental potential. The remainder just sits there in reserve, being saved up for some later time. This would be exactly as if your parents had left you a trust fund with $100,000 in it, and all you ever took out to spend was $2,000. The other $98,000 simply sat in the account, unused throughout your life. Develop a burning desire. The starting point of all goal attainment is desire. You must develop an intense burning desire for your goals if you really want to achieve them. It is only when your desire becomes intense enough that you will have the energy and the internal drive to overcome all the obstacles that will arise in your path. The good news is that almost anything that you want long enough and hard enough, you can ultimately achieve. Now, isn't that miraculous? Let's read this again. The good news is that almost anything that you want long enough and hard enough, you can ultimately achieve. Why? Because you keep thinking about it again and again and again in a loop. The great oil billionaire H.L. Hunt was once asked the secret of success. He replied, success requires two things, and the two things only. First, he said, you must know exactly what it is you want. Most people never make this decision. Second, he said, you must determine the price that you will have to pay to achieve it, and then get busy paying that price. The cafeteria model of success. Life is more like a buffet or cafeteria than it is in a restaurant. In a restaurant, you eat the complete dinner and then you pay the bill. But in a buffet or cafeteria, you have to serve yourself and pay in full before you enjoy the meal. Many people make the mistake of thinking that they will pay the price after they have experienced the success. They sit in front of the stove of life and say, first give me some heat, then I'll put in some wood. As motivational speaker Zig Ziglar once said, the elevator to success is out of service, but the stairs are always open. Isn't that magical and beautiful? Another important observation from Aristotle was his conclusion that the ultimate purpose of all human action is the achievement of personal happiness. Whatever you do, he said, it is aimed at increasing your happiness in some way. You may or may not be successful in achieving happiness, but your happiness is always your ultimate aim. The key to happiness. Setting goals, working towards them day by day, and ultimately achieving them is the key to happiness in life. Goal setting is so powerful that the very act of thinking about your goals makes you happy, even before you've taken the first step towards achieving them. To unlock and unleash your full potential, you should make a habit of daily goal setting and achieving for the rest of your life. You should develop a laser like focus so that you are always thinking and talking about the things you want rather than things that you don't want. You must resolve from this moment on to be a goal seeking organism like a guided missile or a homing pigeon, moving unerringly towards the things that are important to you. There's no greater guarantee of a long, happy, healthy, and prosperous life than for you to be continually working on being, having, and achieving more and more of the things you really want. Clear goals enable you to release your full potential for personal and professional success. Goals enable you to overcome any obstacle and to make your future unlimited. So let's unlock your potential. How do we do that? Number one, imagine that you have the inborn ability to achieve any goal you could ever set for yourself. What you really want to be, have, and do. Number two, what are the activities that give you the greatest sense of meaning and purpose in life? Number three, look at your personal and work life today and identify how your own thinking has created your world. What should you do? What should you could you change? Again, should is a very powerful word. You should do. There's an act of compulsion. But in could, you always have a choice that you could do that. And when you have a choice about could, it becomes so much more because then your own will is attached to it versus should, where somebody says you should do it. Number four, what do you think and talk about most of the time? What you want or what you don't want? This book is a very beautiful book where we need to implement this book by learning to talk in the language of goal setting, right? Number five, what is the price you will have to pay to achieve the goals that are most important to you? So everything you have to pay a price for it, right? They say that there are no free lunches. So if we really, truly, genuinely have the burning desire and we wish to achieve our goals, then there's some things that are important to you which you must be willing to let go. For example, if you want to become thinner, you'll have to let go of your comfort zone of eating food all the time or like late meals or heavy meals. So some price has to be paid. If you want to meditate, you know that you have to pay the price to wake up early and meditate if morning works for you. So look at whatever you want. Then we see that what's the price we're ready to pay. Number six, what one action should you take immediately as a result of your answers to the above questions? And then this is something that we have to write down in clarity because until we write down, it's all in the mind. And like, as they say, there are 30 to 40,000 thoughts on a human being's mind every single day. So imagine all of these questions will be lost in those, in those thoughts. So until we pen them down, until we start journaling, until we start reflecting, we will not have concrete answers. Let's move on to chapter number 2. Take charge of your life. Alexander Graham Bell says, a man, as a general rule, owes very little to what he is born with. A man is what he makes of himself. So oftentimes we're looking for other people to help us in our journey. And we blame them because of this, this person, I couldn't do this, because of this circumstances, I could not do this. Oh, I wasn't born rich enough. Oh, I wasn't this. Oh, I wasn't that. But we are the procreator of our life with the universal energies, with the God, with the source himself. So let's read this chapter. When I was 21, I was broke and living in a small one-room apartment in the middle of a very cold winter, working on a construction job during the day. I usually couldn't afford to go out of my apartment in the evenings, but at least it was warm, so I had a lot of time to think. One night, I sat there at my small kitchen table. I had a great flash of awareness. It changed my life. I suddenly realized that everything that happened to me for the rest of my life was going to be up to me. No one else was ever going to help me. No one was coming to the rescue. I was thousands of miles from home with no intentions of going back for a long time. I saw clearly at that moment that if anything in my life were going to change, it would have to begin with me. If I didn't change, nothing else would change. I was responsible. The great discovery. I still remember that moment. It was like a first parachute jump. It was both scary and exhilarating. There I was, standing on the edge of life, and decided to jump from that moment onwards. I accepted that I was in charge of my life. I knew that if I wanted things to be different, I would have to be different. Everything was up to me. I later learned that when you accept complete responsibility for your life, you take the giant step from childhood to adulthood. Sadly enough, most people never do this. I met countless men and women in their 40s and 50s who are still grumbling and complaining about earlier unhappy experiences and still blaming their problems on other people and circumstances. Many people are still angry about something that one of their parents did or did not do, or for them 20 or 30 or even 40 years ago. They're trapped in the past and they can't get free. Who's our worst enemy? The greatest enemies of success and happiness are negative emotions of all kinds. It is negative emotions that hold you down, tire you out, and take away all your joy in life. It is negative emotions from the beginning of time that have done more harm to individuals and societies than all the plagues of history. Imagine how powerful negative emotions are in our downward journey. One of your most important goals, if you want to be truly happy and successful, is to free yourself from negative emotions. And fortunately, this can be done if you learn how. The negative emotions of fear, self pity, envy, jealousy, feelings of inferiority, and ultimately anger are mostly caused by four factors. Once you identify and remove these factors from your thinking, your negative emotions stop automatically. When your negative emotions stop, the positive emotions of love, peace, joy, and enthusiasm flow in to replace them, and then your whole life changes for the better, sometimes in a matter of minutes or even seconds. So stop justifying. The first of the four root causes of negative emotions is justifications. You can only be negative as long as you can justify to yourself and others that you're entitled to be angry or upset for some reason. This is why angry people are continually expanding and explaining and elaborating on the reasons for their negative feelings. However, if you can't justify your negativity, you cannot be angry. For example, a person is laid off from a job due to a change in the economy and declining sales in the company. However, the individual is angry with his boss for the decision and justifies his anger by describing all the reasons why his being laid off was unfair. He can even get himself so incensed that he decides to sue or get even in some way. As long as he continues to justify his negative feelings towards his boss and the company, his negative emotions control him and absorb much of his life and thinking. And that is simple sabotage to yourself. Anger only kills us, and when we justify that I'm angry because of so and so reason, we're going to be more angry. Because wherever our energy goes, wherever we focus, that grows. However, as soon as he says, well, I've been laid off, these things happen, it's not personal, people get laid all the time. Laid off all the time. I guess I'd better get busy finding a new job. Thereby, his negative emotions vanish. He becomes calm, clear, and focused on the goal and on the steps he can take to get back into the workforce. As soon as he stops justifying, he becomes a more positive and effective person. So let's refuse to rationalize and make excuses. The second cause of negative emotions is rationalization. When you rationalize, you attempt to give a socially acceptable explanation for an otherwise socially unacceptable act. You rationalize to explain away or put a favorable light on something that you have done that you feel bad or unhappy about. You excuse your behavior or actions by creating an explanation that sounds good, even though you know that you were an active agent in whatever occurred. You often create complex ways of putting yourself in the right by explaining that your behavior was really quite acceptable. All things considered, this rationalizing keeps your negative emotions alive. Rationalization and justification always require that you make someone or something else the source or cause of your problem. You cast yourself in the role of a victim and you make the other person or organization into the oppressor or the bad guy. Rise above the opinion of others. So again, very key point for all of us to remember is stop making excuses, stop blaming, and stop rationalizing, which leads to our negative emotions going away, fading away. Justification, rationalizations always require that we make somebody else a problem. That we again do the blame game, right? Now, third is rise above the opinion of others. The third cause of negative emotions is an over concern or hypersensitivity to the way other people treat you. For some people, the entire self image is determined by the way others speak to them, talk to them, or talk about them, or even look at them. They have little sense of personal value or self worth apart from the opinions of others. And if those opinions are negative for any reason, real or imagined, the victim immediately experiences anger, embarrassment, shame, feelings of inferiority, and even depression, self pity, and despair. This explains why psychologists say that almost everything we do is to earn the respect of others, or at least to avoid losing their respect. No one else is responsible. The fourth cause of negative emotions, and the worst of all, is blaming. When I draw the negative emotions tree in my seminars, I illustrate the trunk of the tree as a propensity to blame other people for our problems. Once you cut down the trunk of the tree, all the fruits of the tree, all the negative emotions die immediately. Just as when you jerk the plug out of the wall that lights up the Christmas lights in the tree, all the lights go out instantly. So, again, very important for us to know that if we do not keep harboring negative emotions, if we don't keep blaming, then we will be finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, which is always there. When you start taking responsibility, is beautiful. Next section is responsibility is the antidote. The antidote for negative emotions of all kinds is for you to accept complete responsibility for your situation. You cannot say the words, I am responsible, and still feel angry. The very act of accepting responsibility short circuits and cancels out any negative emotions you may be experiencing. The discovery of the simple but powerful affirmation, I am responsible, and its instant ability to eliminate negative emotions was a turning point in my life, and as it has been for many hundreds of thousands of my students. Just imagine you can free yourself from negative emotions and begin taking control of your life by simply saying, I am responsible, whenever you start to feel angry or upset for any reason. It is only when you free yourself from negative emotions by taking complete responsibility that you can begin to set and achieve goals in every area of your life. It is only when you're free mentally and emotionally that you can begin to channel your energies and enthusiasms in a forward direction. This is why, without the acceptance of complete personal responsibility, no progress is possible. On the other hand, once you accept total responsibility for your life, there are no limits on what you can be, do, and have. Stop blaming others. From now on, refuse to blame anyone for anything, past, present, or future. As Eleanor Roosevelt says, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Buddy Hackett, the comedian, once said, I never hold grudges. While you're holding grudges, they're out dancing. From this point forward, refuse to make excuses to justify your behaviors. If you make a mistake, just say, I'm sorry, and get busy rectifying the situation. Every time you blame someone else or make excuses, you give your power away. You feel weakened and diminished. You feel negative and angry inside. Refuse to do it. And we're being told to control our emotions. To keep your mind positive, refuse to criticize, complain about, or condemn other people for anything. Every time you criticize someone else, complain about something you don't like, or condemn someone else for something that they have done or not done, you trigger feelings of negativity and anger within yourself. And you're the only one who suffers. Your negativity doesn't affect the other person at all. Being angry with someone is allowing him or her to control your emotions and often the entire quality of your life at long distance. This is just plain silly. Remember, as Gary Zukas says in his book Seat of the Soul, positive emotions empower, negative emotions disempower. Positive emotions of happiness, excitement, love, and enthusiasm make you feel more powerful and confident. Negative emotions of anger, hurt, or blame weaken you and make you hostile, irritable, and unpleasant to be around. So, obviously, we will be irritated, we will be negative, we will be angry, we will be unpleasant when we are full of anger, when we are negative, negative, negative. Then we will be lashing out our anger and we will be hurting inside and hurting somebody else because we are playing the blame game. So, we have to get this out of our system. How? By accepting that the fault is mine. What is inside me is outside me. So if I can see something negative outside, it's because that part lurks inside me as well. So once you decide to accept complete responsibility for yourself, your situation, for everything that happens to you, you can turn confidently towards your work and the affairs of your life. You become the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. And this, my dear friends, is one of the most powerful lines all of us should underline if we have a hard copy or write it somewhere. We are the masters of our fate and the captain of our soul. Why? Because our soul navigates us, and if we are in line with it, then we can steer our life in the direction of our life purpose. And we define our own destiny, nobody else does. Hello, Mr. President. In a study done in New York some years ago, researchers found that the top 3% of the people in every field had a special attitude that set them apart from average performers in their industries. It was this: they viewed themselves as self employed throughout their careers, no matter who signed their paychecks. They saw themselves as responsible for their companies exactly as if they owned the companies personally. You should do the same. From this moment forward, see yourself as the president of your own personal services corporation. View yourself as self employed. See yourself as in complete charge of every part of your life and career. Remind yourself that you are where you are and what you are because of what you have done or failed to do. You're very much the architect of your own destiny. This is again really, really powerful. You choose, you decide. You have determined your entire life up to now by the choices and decisions you have made or failed to make. If there's anything in your life that you don't like, you are responsible. If there's anything that you're unhappy about, it is up to you to take the necessary steps to change and improve it so that it is more to your liking. As the president of your own personal services corporation, you are completely responsible for everything you do and for the results of what you do. You are responsible for the consequences of your actions and your behaviors. You are where you are and what you are today because you have decided to be there. In a large sense, you're earning today exactly what you have decided to earn, no more, no less. If you're not happy with your current income, decide to earn more. Set it as a goal, make a plan, and get busy doing what you need to do to earn what you really want to earn. As a president of your own career and your own life, and being the architect of your own destiny, you're free to of your own destiny. You're free to make your own decisions. You are the boss. You are in charge. So develop your own strategy. Just as the president of a corporation is responsible for the strategy and activities of that corporation, you're also responsible for the personal strategic planning of your own life and career. You are responsible for overall management strategy, setting goals, making plans, establishing measures, and performing to get the right results. You are responsible for achieving certain outputs for the quality and the quantity of the work that you produce and the results you are expected to get. As a president, you're responsible for marketing strategies for self promotion and advancement, creating your own image and packaging yourself to be able to sell yourself for the very highest price in a competitive market. And with this, we conclude today's reading. We read about 16 pages. Oh, yes, we have two more paragraphs to read. So let's read that and then conclude. You are responsible for financial strategy for deciding exactly how much of your services you want to sell, how much you want to earn, how rapidly you want to grow your income year by year, how much you want to save and invest, how much you want to be worth when you retire. These numbers are entirely up to you. You are responsible. You are responsible for your people strategy and your relationships, both at home and at work. One piece of advice I give my students is to choose your boss with care. Your choice of a boss is going to have a major impact on how much you earn, how fast you get ahead, and how happy you will be at your job. And now it's time for all of us to do the Lotus of Gratitude. So by now, I hope you're aware of how we do it. I posted the video on the group. So very simply, we close our eyes. We form our left and right hand into little buds of lotuses. And we go deep within. And as each petal opens, as one little finger comes down, just the way a flower blossoms or lotus blooms, We think of that one thing that we're grateful for in the last 24 hours, or maybe just today. So let's take about 100 seconds to circle back to this beautiful world of gratitude, because gratitude is the biggest multiplier. And let's fold our hands in gratitude and bow to our masters, angels, guardians, spirit guides, loved ones, ancestors, gurus, teachers, mentors, in this realm or the other, in this dimension or the other, in this space or the other, for such a beautiful life full of blessings. Let's start looking at everything so positively. We are all in this world, on this Mother Earth, in this school to learn. There are bound to be knocks and shocks in our life. But if we start looking at them as what lesson have I learned, and we being grateful for that lesson, that knock and shock will never come again. And this is a beautiful belief and faith in ourselves and the universe. Let's be so grateful for making our world so beautiful and infinite. Let's tune into this world of lotus consciousness, expansive, reminding us that even if there's dirt and muck in and around us, we can still blossom into a beautiful being, becoming a better version of ourselves every single day, moment to moment. And even if we falter, there's always a new scope, always a new hope. And with this, let's once again bow our heads in gratitude for our higher self, which is inside us, navigating us, captain of our soul. And so it is. With lots of love, light, and blessings, let's conclude this beautiful session and have a wonderful day. So once again, sleep tight and have a good night. I'll see you in the gap tomorrow, same time, same place, 9 p.m. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lots of love.